Comes at Night is a very unusual movie in that it doesn't tell you a lot. It starts with Joel Edgerton, who plays Paul, whose family are hidden away in this house, which has a red door. You don't know why they're there, but the movie does give the impression that they're escaping something, be it a plague, be it some kind of civilization destroying incident happened, and they're hiding out in the mountains to escape it. They encounter another family, and it gets very odd in a very surreal fashion. It's very well done, it's very creepy, but the thing is, I mentioned earlier its approach, namely that it doesn't give you a lot of information. You don't know why things are happening, what caused these things to happen. You only see the reaction to these unspoken events. And that does bring a certain tension. You're not understanding things. It kind of knocks the viewer off balance. But at the same time, it doesn't give you anything to grasp onto. The movie hints, I mentioned a plague earlier, and the movie hints at that. You see certain characters go through outbreaks, lesions on the skin, just puking blood from their mouths, but you don't necessarily know why that's happening. So it kind of limits its options in terms of tension. It's worth mentioning that Joel Edgerton tends to, or at least lately, be appearing in movies that have very diverse casts. Loving was a movie about an interracial relationship. It Comes at Night has an interracial family. It's good to see Hollywood taking an approach that seems to be colorblind in terms of its casting, putting people in roles that don't necessarily fit what a lot of people think should be in that role. It was pretty bold, and I like that. Watching the movie, I've gotten a feeling that this plague has symptoms. The movie doesn't deal with that other than physical symptoms, such as, I mentioned, lesions, throwing up blood, and that type of thing. What came to my mind while watching it is, what if one of the symptoms of this plague was hallucinations? It doesn't say that, but the movie takes an approach to events that borders on the supernatural. The thing is, though, it's not a supernatural movie at all. There's no magic, there are no zombies. Which I actually read a review that said that, and I don't know where that came from, because it's certainly not in the movie. As I said earlier, this movie was revolving around some kind of plague, some kind of scourge, something that wipes out people. So, and it doesn't deal with symptoms much. And just watching the movie, it has a very dreamlike quality to it. And it's not, at least for me, I wasn't always certain what I was watching was real or not real. So I was wondering, what if one of the symptoms of this plague is hallucinations? So instead of there being some force out in the woods, which the movie alludes to quite a bit, what if instead we have just the people and the plague, and they're imagining certain events? The movie doesn't explicitly say this, but it makes a lot of sense. There's a scene about midway when a dog vanishes, and the dog is returned, but dying and seemingly infected with this plague, which there was no indication that it could affect animals at all in the movie before this moment. But here's the important thing in reference to that scene. That red door to their home was opened. No one came in, no one came out. Travis, Paul's son, found the door open, and his dog was nearby, hurt, dying. And it occurred to me, there were no monsters in this movie, yet something killed that dog. So if it wasn't another human, and no other human characters, well, two others actually were introduced in the movie, but they were killed. There are no zombies in this movie. So what could be doing this? And the only answer that made any sense to me was the family themselves. There was a paranoia around infection. They wore masks, gas masks. They tried to cordon off parts of the house with plastic sheeting to stop something from getting in. But the thing is, at various times they wouldn't wear their masks. And it kind of got me thinking, what were they trying to stop? An airborne pathogen? If that were the case, then they would have been infected already, because they weren't in airtight structures. Even the gas masks wouldn't prevent them from being infected because they took them off all the time. So was it an airborne pathogen? Assuming that it was an airborne pathogen, then they're infected. So that everything they're seeing is heightened reality. It's illusory. It's illusion to some extent. And people who were more susceptible would have more visual issues. They'd see more illusions. They'd become sicker and so on. This, I believe, explains Paul's grandfather. This, I believe, explains Travis. Namely, they were susceptible. They were infected already. In fact, everyone in this movie, I honestly think, is infected. But like any other virus, some people are more susceptible to its effects than others. So Paul didn't become sick, but he was infected. Paul's wife didn't become sick, but she was infected. Travis was infected as well. But unlike Paul and his wife, Travis was unable to fight the effects and slowly was overtaken by his sickness. So Travis, being infected, doesn't know he's infected, and he takes it, he assumes other people, such as Will and Will's son, were infected. And the movie revolves around this paranoia and this fear of infection, when I think the movie is saying that they were all infected. Everyone. And that's a very interesting thing to do. But as I alluded to earlier, it kind of undermines itself in that it doesn't give you enough information about what's happening. It's vague. It feels vaguely supernatural, but as I said, I don't think it is. I think it's mainly just an infection. It Comes at Night is a fascinating movie, very slow burn, very subtle, but it's interesting. It's not a bad movie by any stretch of the imagination, but it's not everyone's cup of tea either. It's not particularly gory. It's not over the top. It's very subtle, tries to get under the skin. Doesn't necessarily succeed, but at least tries. It's an ambitious movie in its own way, and well worth catching. This is Brian from screenfiles.com. Peace.